welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a quick overview of my thoughts for Battletech Decision at Thunder Rift. I did not mean for this to be a mech heavy series of videos. The last one I did was Pacific Rim, and I just immediately started listening to the audiobook of this book. I have the physical copy as well, but I will say the audiobook is really good. The guy who does the narration is great, and they added in a lot of stuff that was really made it more immersive as far as the sound of the battles, and also when the mechs are talking to each other through their comms. It sounds really cool. So I feel like audiobook, definitely that's the way to go in my opinion. But it was just kind of one that my husband had said, I want you to read this, and I like mechs, so I said okay. But I don't know hardly anything about Battletech. My husband paints and collects the minis. I do not know, beyond this book, much about Battletech. So if I say something that you are like, no, that's wrong, you can just tell me in the comments. I am not an expert. I am just talking about this first book, which is the first book in a trilogy, and just giving my thoughts on it. I realized that this book was probably not, I'm not the intended audience. I would imagine this is geared towards men, boys, as obviously the stack of romantasy behind me is mainly geared towards women. But I think I can handle it. And there's only a few times where I was like, oh, this was obviously written probably in the 1980s, obviously by a man. And it didn't get to me other than just the very weak characterization of some of the female characters. But they weren't there for their character, they were there for their bodies. And that's okay. It's very obvious one of the characters, she's just there to be the warm body that he has a relationship with. And whatever. She annoyed me, but that's, neither here nor there. Overall, I would say this is 3.5 stars. I really like the fights. The mech fights are really good. And some of the writing about the different mechs and their weight class and, kind of what they're able to do is good in that you're oh no, I feel how this entering the battle has changed everything. You get how intense everything is now that there's this mech. And it's, yeah, some of them are very, very this sense of dread just comes over you that oh no, this is happening. So I feel in that ways the writing is great. The characterization for the main character, he's okay. It's not amazing. I didn't feel super connected to him. And he's the only one that we really get a motivation. He has, we know his story, we know his connections, we know his training, so he's pretty much it. There's another POV character that is one of the villains, and we just don't know too much about him, and I would have liked more of that because it definitely is not character heavy. It's battle and information heavy. So if you love mechs, I would recommend it. If you love Battletech, I would recommend it. If you don't like either of those things, probably not gonna like this. It's not great as generic sci-fi, because it just has to set up so much within this world, and there's so much stuff with the planet and the what's going on with the politics of that planet and how the weather and everything is affecting. It's you have to know so much info, and it has to set up so much because it's gonna have 2 more books. So it had a lot to do, and I will say I understand that. I'm not going to be too hard on this first book, and I am interested enough to probably continue the series. So there's that. So I will give you a quick little snippet of what's going on in this book because I don't want to go in-depth review. So the main character, Grayson Death Carlisle, he is the son of a mech pilot, and he is slated to take over his father's mech. And unfortunately for him, he's on a planet right now that's kind of going through a transfer of power. The locals are very upset. They do not like this person that's going to be taking over, but they're kind of don't have much of a say. And so this, evil, barbarian piratey guy, he's the one that they're kind of legitimizing, and they're going to just hey, we'll let you have this planet, better keep our friends close, enemies closer. We know you're not great, but we just want you can have this. We'll kind of legitimize you and your rule, and you'll just take over this planet. And the locals are pissed. And so when the whole transfer is supposed to take place, the there's a big, like we know there's someone sabotaging it and there's going to be this big betrayal. And small spoiler, Grayson's dad gets killed. Most of the people that are in his company get killed, and Grayson is kind of just left on his own to fend for himself on this planet. He does not have any kind of real allies. He has Mara, who is the girl that he's been sleeping with, who is the daughter of a local politician. So he's not really on good terms with like the locals. They don't like him. They don't like the company that he was part of. Like they're very upset with how everything was handled, and they blame him for now this hostile takeover of this new group that has taken over the planet. And there's still the king and the government of this planet is still set up, but there's this now enemy force that has invaded, and they're getting ready. Like they're starting to attack. So Grayson has decided he's going to resist. Like at the beginning, you don't know what his real plan is. He just wants revenge for his dad's death. But he slowly, he gets involved with the local government and the king. And because he can pilot a mech, he ends up being part of a battle and helping them win. And he knows all the weaknesses of the mech. So he can, he's this great asset for them in their fight. So then he starts training his own pilots and, starts getting this, company together with his own mechs. And he is, working towards his goal of revenge and taking back the planet, but also he just wants to kill the guy that killed his dad. So that is the plot. The scariest mech comes out, this is the Marauder. Here it is. This one, every time that's mentioned, I'm like, okay, this is real life. It's very much like that dread that comes over you, and it's written really scary. You're like, oh no, that's horrifying. This giant mech just came out. It's gonna wreck you. You're done. The other ones that get mentioned are gonna be the Shadowhawk. I don't have all of them. There's other ones that are mentioned, but these are the ones I have. Shadowhawk, and I'm off screen. And the Locust. This one's in the middle of stepping. So my husband painted those, and he let me use them for my video. But I love the mechs. I think it's interesting how they're classified by weight. So you've got the lighter mechs like the Locust. They're really able to move fast and get around this rough terrain on this planet. And then you have the heavier mechs, which are got really strong weaponry and everything. And they're they're kind of lumbering, and they are crushing people under them. They're kind of evil, but in the best of ways. So, like I said, the best part of this book is going to be the fights for me. The other characters that are kind of mentioned, there's a POV character, Commander Singh. He is evil. He works for the Duke, and they've obviously got this plot, and there's reasons why they want to take this planet. And then Mara, she's the girl that Grayson is with. He even it's to the point where he says in his thinking, he's I have no emotional or I don't have an emotional connection to this woman. He was planning on leaving once the transfer took place of this planet, but then he gets stuck and is well, she's still here, she's still a warm body. Didn't like it, didn't like her. The few times that they have their talk, it's basically her saying kind of hey, let's meet up later. I was just oh, spare me. But yeah, she's not really a character. She has one kind of important role to play, but it could have been any character that did what she did. So yeah. Then Lori is a captured mech pilot. She's part of the enemy's mech force, and then she transfers her allegiance to be part of Grayson's squad and to work with him. And they are friends, and kind of implied that maybe down the line they'd be something more, but thankfully the romance is not really much there. You get that she kind of has this thing about him, and he might be interested in her, and obviously when they're in the mech together, it's he notices this is obvious. Here's the thing. Mechs get very hot, so they can't wear a lot of clothes in the mechs. It makes sense. Yes, it makes sense that the mechs would get very, very hot. You're in this huge piece of machinery doing all this work. It's going to get hot in there. You're surrounded by a computer system. It's going to be warm. I get it. But we all know why. When they first meet and she gets taken out of her mech, she's basically not wearing hardly anything. I think she's got underwear on. And we know why that scene had to happen. And Grace has to save her from the, leering other soldiers. And then when they're together in a mech for reasons, because they're going somewhere together. They are both like not wearing a lot, and he's like, oh hey, and she's like, yeah, my eyes are up here. We get it. Like, so dumb. But hey, luckily those scenes and the romance are very, very, very slight, and hopefully, I mean, I can do without it. I could do completely without it, but if it has to be in the other books, then we'll see. Hopefully they give Lori more characterization. She had the potential to be a character. Obviously, it's interesting that she didn't have any allegiance to the other group that she was part of and just immediately joined Grayson. So she could have had some interesting stuff to say. But we don't get a lot of her. I think she's got a little bit of, like, we know who she's friends with and stuff, and it's hard for her because the planet that she's on is more of a patriarchal society. Their words, not mine. But she has not looked fair. Like, it's not like she doesn't come in like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just start, being a pilot here. They very much don't want her to be. They don't want her involved. They don't trust her. She's a woman. Obviously, she was part of the enemy like mech force, but mainly it says she's a woman, and so when she's giving orders, like, she gets a lot of crap, and it's kind of like she's gotta overcome that. So there's that. And so there's not a lot of other characters that you know about or are really invested in. It's mainly a lot of setup. But where the book is going, I think, is interesting. And I will probably continue the series because the ending, spoilers, it's ending with the setup of the Grey Death Legion, which is going to be basically Grayson's mercenary, like, mech force. And I think that's going to be fun. I am very much interested in that. I think that would have been, I wish they could have wrapped up everything on Trell 1, which I believe is the planet that they're on, quicker. But I understand that they had to make it believable. Like, how did he get here? What was, his backstory? And like, obviously the revenge plot is, oh, you killed my father. I'm going to, I'm not going to come after you. Like, something that we've seen in a lot of stuff, but it works. I don't feel super connected to Grayson as a character. I don't hate him, don't love him, but he's fine. Like I said, the book is at its best in battle scenes. And if you like mechs, or if, like, that's your thing, it's like, yeah, you're going to be satisfied with this. It's pretty good. If you're looking for, like, really strong characterization, no. If you want to know about the world that they're on and the weather and all the different cycles and the time and, like, how it's different from our world and, like, the, like, all of this stuff, you will know it. That stuff was information heavy, and I read, like, Michael Crichton books, and even this was a much, like, for me, I was like, okay, like, get past this. I don't care. I don't want to know all this stuff. But it does get very information heavy. So, like I said, the book is fine. You're gonna follow Grayson. He's on this revenge quest. He's a decent enough character, but if you're looking for, like, super in-depth, characters, or really, like, spectacular writing, it's fine. The narration is good. The writing for the battle scenes is good, but overall, it's, like I said, 3.5 stars. And good enough to continue. So that's where I'm at with this. So, quick channel update. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I started this channel in the Pacific Northwest. That's where I lived. And then I moved to the South. And now I'm probably moving back. We originally moved because my husband lost his job, and with COVID, the area that he worked in, there were no jobs where we were. So the South did have jobs, and that's where we moved. But COVID is obviously not a thing anymore, and we might move back. My family is basically all in the Pacific Northwest. So my videos may be coming out, like, every couple months. Who knows? I'll try to be more consistent, but I don't know with the packing and the moving what I'll be able to do. I am planning on doing a decluttering, and then also, like, a packing video, and I can just do mini reviews with that and tell you, what I think about books, like, just rapid fire. Also, I want to show you what I'm getting rid of, because I do think that it's eye-opening when you see, like, what actually matters in your book collection. Obviously, like, overconsumption is a thing, and I think I fell into a lot of the, like, booktube, bookstagram traps of, like, thinking I really needed certain things, and I don't. So you might be surprised about what I'm keeping and what I'm getting rid of, but yeah, so I'll be filming those, and then I may be off for a while, but I will try to keep posting and keep making content, but we'll see, because I will be, it's a pretty big move. So Anyway, wish me luck, and I will talk to you guys soon. Let me know if you've read this book, if you are interested in mechs, or if you have anything that you think I should read, or anything that you'd like a mini review on from my collection, or if there's something that you've been like seeing behind me, you're like, hey, I would love to know your thoughts on that. Let me know, and I will talk to you guys soon.